This constellation has its own meaning, and let's go ahead and let's look at that. Boots basically is a deacon of the constellation Virgo. Virgo is that's the beginning of the gospel. A virgin shall conceive and bear a son, right? Boots is the sun. In heaven, there's the Virgo, and then there's the sun. Boots represents the child whom we see in the sign of Coma. Coma is the Virgo. It's right next to Virgo. Coma is the virgin sitting in the chair with her child in her lap. And then Boots is the child grown up. The Messiah going forth. Wait do you see this? You're gonna look and you go, oh my God, I never realized the gospel was out there even in the heavens. But see, it makes sense because the gospel will go out into all the world. And did you know what? It has. It's gone out into all the world for the last 6,000 years. It's been going out and going out and going out. We're not just the only ones that have the gospel. Enoch the prophet, before the flood, preached about the second coming of Christ. And it mentions it in the book of Jude, in case you don't understand what I'm talking about. But let's read this. Boots represents the child whom we see in the sign of Coma being held upon his mother's lap. Note, the woman is the virgin, Virgo, seated after the child is born. Let me get out of your way. The name Boots originates from the Hebrew root boot, which means coming. Boots might simply be referred to as the coming one, or he who cometh, which would be Christ, right? The Greeks called him Boots Arcturus, which means the watcher, the guardian, or the keeper. Boots was commonly referred to in conjunction with Ursa Major, that's the Big Dipper, as the keeper of heaven. Arctus, which is the Big Dipper, represents that flock or sheepfold behind him. He was said to be the very shepherd who stands at the door of the sheepfold. So the Big Dipper, basically. Now they say in mythology that it was a big bear. You have the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. They were both bears in mythology. But what they represented was congregations of those who were caught up to heaven. The ancient Egyptians called Boots by the name Smat. The name Smat means the one who rules, subdues, and governs. The star within the spearhead, you see the spear up there, is named Al-Katurups, which means the branch treading underfoot. Remember we talked about Jesus putting his foot on the serpent, the branch treading up underfoot. There is little doubt that this refers to the bruising of the head of the serpent previously prophesied to Eve very early on within the history of man upon this earth. Okay, here is a much bigger display of it. Here's Boots. Right here, you see him with the sickle? Right here, you can't make it out, but there's Virgo. Right next to Virgo is the virgin, is Coma, in the seat with the child in her lap. Here's the child, full grown. He's coming out. This is the dragon's head coming up, trying to take the crown, and Boots is ready to cut his head off because he's the Messiah. And then look at this. Here's the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. They're two congregations of people. And look at the dragon is running away. That's the gospel. That's the gospel in the heavens. The two myths associated with the two bear constellations are to be considered together along with their parent constellation, which is Cancer. We are able to conclude that the sign of Cancer is to be symbolic of a place of protection, rest, and nourishment. We actually talked about that because we've covered all 12 of the signs by going through the first 12 chapters here. And notice the pictures, the way the pictures actually should look in their true meaning. The larger bear in the constellation above actually represents the great harvest of the earth. You see all the sheep there? Remember we said Boots is the shepherd of the keeper of the flock. The little bear constellation actually represents the first fruits of the chosen people. It's like a fortress. It's a sheepfold. And they're kept within, behind the walls. And you see the sheep in there? They're protected.